Welcome to 1 hour of the toughest, roughest wrestling you'll ever see.
That's right, Dick the Bruiser said it all.
The big question, have you got the endurance? Have you got the brains to get past the excellence of execution?
Where are all the gutless American wrestlers? Step in the ring with the Baron and face the Brave.
The reason why Axe and myself were put on this earth is to demolish people.
Bobby Heenan, is a very good-looking sport coat you've got on.
Yeah, and I paid for mine. Mine isn't government issue.
Hello, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside. By golly, we're ready to go with another big week of championship wrestling.
Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to Wrestling Nostalgia. I'm your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for this special bonus episode as we continue the AWA Flashback Deep Dive series. And right now we're going to look at August of 1988. I am going to discuss the TV results, some news and rumors pulled from wrestling newsletters, have some house show results, and usually I include lots of audio clips. This time I've only really got one, only because the interviews and the comments are they're pretty much show to show, month to month so far, almost identical. They're not even really mixing up who's doing these things. So, you know, I just don't put a lot in this month because you've heard it if you listen to the other episodes. So in the future, when, you know, if somebody original, somebody different, rather, has comments or is interviewed, you know, I will include those. But I don't feel the need to keep repeating what are almost cookie cutter interviews over and over and over. But I do have one audio clip that's kind of cool that will come up in a little bit. But basically, you'll be given a chronological telling of the month in AWA history. We're working our way through August of 1988. We started with May of 1988, and you can check out the previous months in the Wrestling Nostalgia archives. So let's take a pause. And when we come back, we are going to dive into everything AWA of August 1988.
Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, home to movie stars, entertainment leaders, and the American Wrestling Association, the Major League of Professional Wrestling, seen by you, the greatest wrestling fans in the world, in the United States, Europe, United Kingdom, South America, Japan, the Middle East. Now, let's go to the Showboat Hotel and Casino.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
This is Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast that feels like you're chatting with friends. Hello, I am one of your friends, Dave. I am one of the co-hosts of Listen to Their Screams with my friend Ike, and we want you to come and check us out. We are a fun-filled, positive horror movie podcast that does reviews, news, birthdays, anniversaries. We play games. We are a ton of fun every week for you, the horror fan out there. For all of our links to our social media and the podcast platforms, just check out our link tree. It is linktr.ee/listen to screams. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or look us up on your favorite social media platform and podcast provider. All right, and we are back, and let's dive into it. So, coming in, let's set the table a little bit. Coming into August, we have the same champions we've had the entire run we've been talking so far. Jerry Lawler is the AWA World Champion. Bad Company, Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka, are the World Tag Team Champions. Greg Gagne is the International TV Champion, and Medusa Michelli is the AWA Women's Champion. Nothing's changed on those fronts. For those of you who may not know, or just a reminder, the AWA ran 2 TV shows weekly. Rod Trongard and Lee Marshall handled the majority of the commentary. Larry Nelson hosted and did the ring announcing and some interviews. There were segments throughout hosted by Greg Gagne. He did the Matt Classic segment. The Big K Stan Kowalski did Big K Knows, and Don Nagagny did Fan of the Week. And by this time, all TV tapings were done at the Showboat Arena in Las Vegas. There was the syndicated show that had run for, decades at this point, All-Star Wrestling, and then there was the ESPN show Championship Wrestling. Now, unfortunately, this month, I do not have any of the TV from the last 2 weeks. I've only got half. It is boggling my mind. When I dove into this project, I had quite a bit of the AWA 88 TV, and I've tried to fill holes, but it has boggled my mind that I'm having difficulty finding some of these episodes given, the time period, and that a lot of it ran on ESPN nationwide. So I'm hopeful that, in the coming months it'll get better, but I'm missing some episodes again this month, but we will power through anyway. So here we go. On August 1st, they had a show at the Four Seasons Arena in Great Falls, Montana. They drew 2,400 people. I don't have results, but I do have what was the scheduled card, and we'll see. I do have results for this one. I misread. AWA World Tag Team Champions Bad Company and the Top Guns went to a time limit draw. Wahoo McDaniel versus Colonel DeBeers went to a double disqualification. Greg Gagne defeated Terminator Wolf, who was substituting for Kurt Hennig, as we talked last episode. Kurt Hennig indefinitely suspended by the AWA, a.k.a. he is New York bound. Baron Von Raschke defeated Soldat Ustinov, who was accompanied by Tijo Khan. Medusa Michelli versus the Magnificent Mimi went to a no contest. And Tijo Khan, who of course was accompanied by Soldat Ustinov, defeated Derek Dukes. They had a show on August 5th, 1988 at the high school gym in Crandon, Wisconsin. The Top Guns defeated Bad Company by disqualification. Wahoo McDaniel defeated Tijo Khan. Baron Von Raschke defeated Soldat Ustinov. Brad Ringens defeated Terminator 2. And Stony Burke versus Terminator 1 went to a draw. What a match. And then August 5th, 1988, there was also in Louisville at the Motor Speedway a CWA show which featured AWA World Champion Jerry Lawler defeating Phil Hickerson to defend his title. On August 6, 1988, we dive into our first TV episode. It is All-Star Wrestling. Jay Strongbow Jr. defeated Mike Samani after a pile driver. Then we had comments from AWA World Tag Team Champions Bad Company. And then Chavo and Mondo Guerrero defeated Dennis Stamp and Greg Robertson. We had an interview with AWA Champion Jerry Lawler. The Fan of the Week segment with Donna Gagny, who also plugs that the Rock and Roll Express and Colonel DeBeers are coming back to the AWA. Tijo Khan defeated Scott Hudson. And Tijo in this, we've talked about the perils and the exploits of the misspelling of Tijo. On this episode, Tijo is spelled capital T-I, capital J-I-O-E. I don't even know how to begin to try to pronounce that, but it is not Tijo. We had comments from AWA Women's Champion Medusa Michelli. The Matt Classic with Greg Gagne was Baron Von Raschke versus Pompero Firpo. Big K Knows with Stan Kowalski talking about mostly Medusa Michelli. We had good old Rocky Mountain Thunder defeating Hunter Thompson. And then here we go. We had Larry Nelson talking to Vern Gagne, who says yet he cannot still make his big announcements. This has going on for weeks. I don't even know what the purpose of this is. I don't know what the announcement is or is going to be. I don't know if it's going to. We've heard rumors in the newsletters. It's this or it's that. I don't know. They're talking about how big an announcement this is, how important an announcement it is, how there's all these legalities and things to work out. And every week, Vern is promising, I will announce it next week. And then he comes out there with an excuse. No, I can't. And it's getting a little old. And anyway, so we have another week of that. We have comments from the Top Guns, John Paul and Ricky Rice. Bad Company defeated Kevin Collins and Randy Greenway. Of course, DDP introduces Bad Company, who are also accompanied by a Diamond Doll. And they win with a super kick and bridging suplex, German suplex combination. Pat Tanaka had was behind the person holding with a waist lock. Paul Diamond hit them with a super kick. As he was doing that, Pat Tanaka was taking him over for a German suplex, bridged up for a win. It was a very cool looking maneuver. Very, very good. That is why one of the reasons why Bad Company is such a highlight of this time period in AWA. And then we move on. We have the TV for August 6th, the Championship Wrestling episode on ESPN, which is pretty much the same matches as All-Star Wrestling. But instead of the tag team main event, it has a match featuring Jerry Lawler versus Kurt Hennig. They have held a show on August 8th at it's the Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis. It's a CWA show. It featured Austin Idol defeating Jerry Lawler by disqualification. And then on August 8th, 1988, from the newsletter, The Wrestling Observer, here are some quote-unquote news and rumors from Mr. Meltzer. So let's see what we have here. There is a tentative show scheduled for November 4th or November 5th at the Metrodome in Minneapolis with ZZ Top. Look, I have never heard of this. Never, ever. Never heard anything about this rumor or whatever. We're not to November yet. I don't have 100% proof, but I'm almost guaranteed this show doesn't happen. I don't know what this is. I don't even know how this came about, but that's apparently the rumor. Kurt Hennig was suspended for life from the AWA since he's debuting for the WWE. Good old Dave reports that Jimmy Valiant is coming to the AWA, and he does say that the AWA are still claiming the Rock and Roll Express are coming back in. Then the AWA have a show on August 11th at the Cottonwood County Fairgrounds in Windham, Minnesota. Baron Von Raschke versus Soldat Ustinov also scheduled to appear. Kurt Hennig, Wahoo McDaniel, and Bad Company. We all obviously know it. Kurt would not have been there, but we do not have any results from this show. The AWA held a show on August 12th at the Utah County Fairgrounds in Spanish Fork, Utah. The Top Guns defeated AWA World Tag Team Champions Bad Company by disqualification. Wahoo McDaniel defeated T. Joe Khan. The AWA Ladies Champion Medusa Michelli defeated Susan Sexton. And Steve Gatorwolf defeated Mark Starr. Then we have the next television episode from August 13th. This is the episode of All-Star Wrestling. Larry Nelson opens the show and says, Vern Gagne has the big announcement to make. And yeah, we'll see about that, Larry. The Top Guns defeated Vernon Deaton and Scott Hudson with a Ricky Rice running power slam, followed by a John Paul flying elbow drop. We have comments from Baron Von Raschke. Of course, DDP introduces Paul Diamond, who is accompanied by a Diamond Doll, and Diamond defeats Kevin Collins with a Gourd Buster. Comments from Medusa Michelli. Some comments from Bad Company. Then we have a music video hyping the return of Colonel De Beers, set to the Rolling Stones' Sympathy for the Devil. It's very intriguing, very interesting. I at least like the concept that they're trying to build the interest, trying to build the curiosity. But I don't know. Colonel De Beers doesn't seem like the music video kind, but Sympathy for the Devil is a very, very cool song. I guess it's applicable here for De Beers. So anyway, it's something different at least. So I'll give them that much. We had the Fan of the Week segment with Donna Gagne. And Wahoo McDaniel and Jay Strongbow Jr. defeated Greg Robertson and Mike Simoni. I'm trying to find out some information about Jay Strongbow Jr. because this is not actually Jay Strongbow's son, who wrestled as Vince Young and did different things. And he did wrestle as Jay Strongbow Jr. in some places, but this is not him. I have heard that this is just a local guy on the West Coast that they used since they're in Vegas, but I'm trying to track down a little more about him and what his name was everything else, but I'm having trouble tracking that information. So if anybody knows, let me know, because I'd like to look a little deeper into the actual identity of Jay Strongbow Jr., who wrestled for the AWA. Not the one, not Vince Young, not that one. We have some comments from the Top Guns, the Matt Classic segment with Greg Gagne featuring Nick Bockwinkel versus Billy Robinson. Big K Knows with Stan Kowalski talking about the end of Colonel DeBeer's suspension and that he's coming back and being managed by DDP. And of course, Big K takes credit for being the one to bring the attention that, hey, the suspension's over and blah, blah, blah. Soldat Yusinov defeated Dennis Stamp. So we have Larry Nelson then. He's out. He's ready for the big announcement. And here comes Al DeRusha. He says there is still one more wrinkle in the deal, so they can't announce it yet. So while they're dragging this on, at least it's not Vern out there again smiling and giving the excuses. He sends Al DeRusha out to do it and to mix it up. And Larry Nelson shows some aggravation and contempt. So he is getting, at least acting frustrated. Man, I hope this pays off in some way, but I'm fearful it's not. But we'll see. I'm wondering if maybe the announcement is not something to do with Super Clash 3. I'm hoping, because that would be kind of big. That would kind of pay off. That would explain their carrying on of why, there was all these legalities, these things to work out, because you have all these different companies working together. So, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll see. Then we have some comments from Soldat Yusinov and Tijo Khan. Baron Von Raschke defeated Tijo Khan by disqualification. The Baron had Tijo in the claw, and Soldat Yusinov interfered. They were double teaming Baron, so Jay Strongbow Jr. comes out to save Von Raschke. And then the show ends with highlights from Manny Fernandez destroying Wahoo McDaniel's headdress, followed by comments from Wahoo McDaniel. And then we have, on August 13th, the episode of Championship Wrestling, which was on ESPN, and it seems to have the same matches, except it has, instead of the Baron Tijo match, it has a Bad Company versus Chavo and Mando Guerrero main event. Then the AWA had a title defense on the Mid-South show at the Mid-South Coliseum on August 15th, when Jerry Lawler defeated world-class world champion Kerry Von Erich. So here we go. We've been working some of these matches. We're ironing it out. I'm wondering if at this time, maybe, there's obviously this rivalry going. They're doing the thing in the USWA with world class, but I'm wondering if at this time there are any discussions, any thoughts that, hey, this is the match we're wanting to build, and if maybe they're trying it around the horn a little bit to get some things worked out. I don't know, but we'll see. August 17th, 1988, AWA held a show at the Upper Peninsula State Fair in Escanaba, Michigan. The Top Guns and Baron Von Raschke, who are subs for the Midnight Rockers and Wahoo McDaniel that were advertised, defeated Bad Company and Ray Stevens, who were substituting for the Nasty Boys and Kevin Kelly. So we had a whole different 6-man tag match scheduled than what we got, but it is what it is. The America's champion, Sergeant Slaughter, defeated Soldat Yusinov. So Sergeant making an appearance there. I wonder if this is a one-off thing for this fair show, or if this is the time when he starts coming in. I don't know. We'll see. Of course, he's still being billed as the America's champion. AWA International TV champion Greg Gagne defeated Tijo Khan by disqualification. AWA World Ladies champion Medusa Michelli defeated Andy Austin, who was substituting for Miss Olympia. Stony Burke versus Terminator Riggs went to a draw. I bet that was a Donnie Burke. And there was a note, Kurt Hennig versus Greg Gagne and Baron Von Raschke versus Tijo Khan were advertised. Of course, they had to change the card because of different issues there. And then we are at August 20th, 1988, the Showboat Sports Pavilion in Las Vegas, Nevada. The TV taping, which drew 1,259. So let's pause for a moment. Let's listen to a TV commercial for that TV taping date, and then we'll come back and finish out August.
It's back, badder than ever. Pro wrestling at the Showboat. Get set for a community brawl when the Guerrero brothers knock heads with Bad Company and Colonel De Beers in 6-man tag team action. Plus, Jerry Lawler tackles Tijo Khan. Wahoo McDaniel's looking to lock it up with Manny Fernandez. And Medusa Michelli's out to mangle Julia Sexton. Ringside $12, general admission $10, kids $7. The baddest bashers in the business, you got them. AWA Wrestling, Saturday, August 20th, 7:30 at the Boats.
AWA Championship Wrestling. The AWA presents the greatest stars in professional wrestling, bringing you the best in mat action.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
All right, and let's dive back in. And here we go. This is where we get to the point where I don't have episodes of the television. So on August 20th, we have the All-Star Wrestling and the Championship Wrestling on ESPN. I cannot track down those episodes for the 820 shows or the 827 shows. So unfortunately, I apologize. We will move on with this one. On August 22nd at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, Tommy Rich defeated AWA World Heavyweight Champion Jerry Lawler by disqualification. And here we go, back to the Wrestling Observer newsletter that was released on August 22nd. They are reporting that the ESPN Championship Wrestling show maintains a 1.8 national rating in its late Saturday night time slot, which makes it the second highest rated show on the station. No context was given. I don't know whether that he was implying that ESPN is happy with that. I can't imagine they're not happy, right? I mean, in that time slot on a late Saturday night, you have your second highest rated show on the station. They've got to be pretty pleased with that. And then Dave also reports that Colonel LeBeers and Jimmy Snuka are headed to the AWA and set to renew their feud. So we move on to a show on August 24th at the National Guard Armory in Gastonia, North Carolina. We had the AWA. This is just the card. I don't have results. The AWA World Tag Team Champions Bad Company versus Robert Gibson and John Paul, who was subbing for Ricky Morton. Wahoo McDaniel versus Manny Fernandez. Jerry Lawler versus Jimmy Valiant. Medusa Michelli versus Velvet McIntyre. Ronnie Garvin versus Ricky Rice. Gary Royal versus Bucky Siegler. And Randy Mulkey versus Scott Hudson. Obviously working in some North Carolina guys there on that show. And then they held a show on, or at least there was a show scheduled on August 24th in Sportswood, Virginia, and one on August 25th at Charleston, South Carolina. I have no card or results for those, so I have no guarantee that those occurred. There was a scheduled show on August 27th at the Event Center in Casper, Wyoming, which featured Greg Gagne versus Tijo Khan, Bad Company versus the Top Guns, and Medusa Michelli versus Magnificent Mimi. At least those matches were advertised. Then we would have the TV episodes from August 22nd of All-Star Wrestling and Championship Wrestling on ESPN. Again, I do not have those, so I do not have those results. I apologize again. And then we have some news and rumors from the August 29th Wrestling Observer. He is reporting that the TV taping held on August 20th drew 1,250 fans. That Jimmy Valiant no-showed the TV taping. Oh, Boogie Woogie, man, what are you doing? The September taping has been canceled. And that the AWA will be taping TV with the CWA on September 17th in Nashville, September 18th in Louisville, and September 19th in Memphis. So, this is unique, right? We have the Vegas taping on August 20th, which will be our September shows that we will cover next month. But then when we get to October, we will have those television episodes will be coming from TV tapings held with the CWA in Nashville, Louisville, and Memphis. So those are going to have a different look, a different flavor, probably quite a bit of different talent, because I suspect some of those Memphis guys, some of those guys in that area will be worked in. So it's very intriguing to me what it's going to look like when we get to October. Dave reports that Colonel LeBeers is going to be managed by Diamond Dallas Page. He says that the Terminators debuted at the tapings. As we know, what we talked about earlier, they would work some of the house shows, but they did appear at the tapings. Vern Gagne was telling people at the TV tapings that the NWA was folding and he was picking up most of the talent. Vern, buddy. You know what? I love the NWA. I'm a fan of Vern Gagne's. But man, some of the things he says and promises and tells people, it's let's just say it's old school. But we obviously know this never occurred. And then he says that the pay-per-view the AWA has planned has been moved back to December 26th. Again, that's all related to Super Clash 3, which in the coming months, more and more will develop and come out, and we will talk more in depth. August 30th at the Sports Center in Owensboro, Kentucky, there was a CWA show that featured AWA World Heavyweight Champion Jerry Lawler versus Tommy Rich. So there we have it. That is the results and the TV that I had for August of 1988 for the AWA. We do have a few questions here from the listeners, so let's see what we got and what I can come up with to respond to. Again, I have no internal knowledge. I was not at any of this. Some of this is purely speculation and based off things I've heard and research maybe and whatever else. So let's see what we have. John Ori DuPont on Facebook asked, did Vern Gagne have second thoughts about putting the belt on Jerry Lawler? And if so, when did they begin? I don't believe so. Not at this point. I don't think Vern had a lot of options, right? I think he was trying to keep Kurt Hennig. And obviously the writing was on the wall. Kurt was going to go, whether Kurt told Vern, whatever happened, whether, their negotiations broke down, whatever it may be. I think Vern and Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett had started discussing, kind of working together. I think Vern was starting to realize he needed a little influx, a little bit of input, a little bit of support. And, Jerry Lawler could take his title, defend it in Memphis area, could get it in the magazines, could draw some attention to it, and cooperate and work with different people. I think they had already been discussing. Well, we know they had. It had been reported earlier in the a couple months in the year that there's already the talks of having the joint supercard with other promotions and everything else. So I think this was a deliberate thing. Vern went with what was safe for him and what they were building towards and what they thought they could do that was best for business. I wholeheartedly agree that this was the right move for them at the time, right? I don't think there was, if Kurt was leaving, I don't think there was, Lawler was a great champion. He was a great guy to put the belt on. Again, he was all over the magazines, right? With the AWA title and all the attention of, unifying titles with world class and the CWA and this and that got a lot of attention in the magazines and a lot of press for the AWA. And something they had been missing for a while. So, I think it was the right move for them. I'm not sure who else they would have put the belt on that would have had, this much impact as what Lawler did. I think he was the best choice they had. And I don't think Vern had second thoughts. I know there is talks that Vern had always wanted Greg Gagne to take a run with the belt at some point. I don't know. You hear different stories about whether that's true or not. Some people say, no, he didn't. Some people said, yes, he did, but Greg said no. I don't know. So I don't know if that was ever discussed as an option. I don't know. But I don't think he had a lot of second thoughts about going with Lawler because I think that was the best option. And I think he trusted Jerry Jarrett and them to work with them. John Scholes via email says, why did it take so long to put the title on Lawler? Wouldn't it have been better to give him a month run years earlier with a win over Martel or Bockwinkel, his Bockwinkel's post-Hansen run? Or give someone in Continental a month run to like Wendell, Cooley, or Austin Idol so the local fans believe the AWA title could change hands? John, I don't think at that time, you're talking years earlier, a few years back, the AWA was still strong, right? Much stronger than they are now. And I don't think he had any interest in putting their title on someone from Continental and just to believe the local fan, try to work those local fans there. I don't think he had an interest in that. He was worried about his fans, his product. Vern has always been a guy who's gone with the safe bet for a champion, whether it be himself, whether it be a son-in-law in Larry Zbyszko, whether it be a very trusted right-hand man that was always with him like a Nick Bockwinkel. He always wanted someone as champion. I'm not undermining any of those guys as champion. I'm not trying to say they were not deserving or anything like that. But I'm just saying Vern has been known to go with the kind of guys he likes, the safe bets. He didn't want someone who was going to take his title and then disappear or take his title and appear on someone else's TV. There was not contracts necessarily in a lot of cases. And again, at that time, I don't think he felt the need then at that time, you're talking years earlier, to give Lawler a run back then. Because again, like you said, he had Martel, he had Bockwinkel. There was that, Hansen run in there. Vern had another run in there. Bockwinkel, I don't know, he had one or two more runs in there, and different things like that. So I just don't think that Lawler fit into those plans, and Lawler fit into that safe feel that Vern had on who he was going to put his belt on. And while us as fans would look at it and say, yeah, that'd been great ideas. It would have been exciting. It would have been fun. Vern, on his business side, didn't feel he needed it or could trust it, or that it was the best decision for his company or business at that time. Though that's kind of why he made the choices he did. That's what he's always done. Kind of went with what he could trust. And lots of territories did that, right? You had your champion either be someone who had ownership in the territory, or someone who was safe, someone you knew was going to be there and not rock the boat, someone you could depend on to appear on your shows and everything else, and on your television. So, all right, and final question. Matt Worthington on Facebook says, how did Vern Gagne, Jerry Jarrett, and Fritz Von Erich get together to agree to work with each other and put together Super Clash 3? Oh, Matt, we're going to discuss lots more about this in the coming episodes as this is developing. We have been talking how Dave's been mentioning how there have been some meetings held between guys to talk about the seeds of this event happening, how AWA has an event planned that they want to put on pay-per-view, and you could already know that the AWA and Vern have been talking with these guys. It's been reported, and that he knows, right, he has to do something with other people. He doesn't. It's like he's aware that he doesn't have enough of a strong roster and a deep enough roster and enough talent there to put on the show by himself to get the his attendance is down, things, whatever. So he's got to be aware that he needs something, and the concept alone of this mega show, quote unquote, with other territories, other regions working together. I think they really feel like no matter what else, they can hang their hat on that and it be somewhat of a success just based on that concept of look at us all working together, right? We have Texas and Memphis and the AWA and whatever else represented, and we're working together to put on this super show of the best and the best from these areas and these regions and these companies. And they think that's something they can sell. As we're talking, I really think, right, that obviously we know at the core, Vern, Jarrett, and Von Erich are pretty in on it at this point, right? That's we know that's gonna probably they're going to be a part, right? We know ultimately they will be, but I'm just saying at this time, I'm guessing, and again it's just a conjecture on my part, I'm guessing that those three are very all in on this event, because those three like the concept, they like the boost, they want that notoriety, that attention, they want whatever it might be. It's going to help all three, right? World Class is struggling too. And they being a part of this, they're hoping probably could help them. Memphis could use a boost, right? This is a weird time in wrestling for these companies. So I think these three are already in on it. I would venture to guess that they're already have had the talks of, Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich that's our match. That's going to be the match. That is should headline this. It is going to have the attention and the draw, because we're going to have a unification match for the two titles. And Kerry is popular in a draw. Lawler is a draw. And so I'm guessing probably at this point, they've already got that kind of penciled that they're going to do it, and they're just working out details. They're just trying to figure out that final date and getting pay-per-view broadcast, coverage done, and get all this, the dot their I's and cross their T's, so to speak, getting all those things, the legalities and the wrinkles, as Vern always calls with this announcement every week. Again, I think these guys got together, right, because I feel like they thought they needed something because business is down. So what can they do as a boost? Well, what if it's that old Pro Wrestling America mentality that they tried before, right? If we're going to compete with the big companies, if we take the best we all have and put them together, we could do a pretty good show and compete and make an impact. And I think that's it's just a necessity that caused this, that they thought, this is what we need to do to help our business, to boost our business, to try to give us a bump. This is something we can market and sell. This is our best option. So hey, yeah, we can all get in on this, do well, and hopefully make money, and and spawn something. Of course, there are difficulties when doing these things, as we know with the history of Pro Wrestling America and that show that Vern tried to run years before. When you hear the age-old saying, if you get a lot of promoters in a room, they can't even agree on what to order for lunch, much less the matches and the results. So, but anyway, you asking, how did they get together? I feel like it's a business necessity they thought they needed to do to try to put on something attention-getting, something that fans would find spectacular. These guys they're no strangers to one another, right? They've worked together and done things before. Vern, Jerry Jarrett, Fritz, these guys know each other and have worked together. And, it's that mentality when something needs done and they need help, they call each other. But again, we will talk more about this in the coming months as news comes out about the development of Super Clash 3. It's one of the reasons I picked 1988 to start with, because to me, there was this cool start point in May with Jerry Lawler becoming champion. That's a unique situation, a shift in the AWA when Jerry Lawler became champion. And obviously 88's cool because there's also then that bookend towards the end of the year with Super Clash 3, which was a fun event to follow at the time and an exciting event to think of at that time. So it's one reason that I thought 88 was a really cool year, besides the fact that I enjoy 88 and I'm a fan of it. I know business is down. I know it's not like their prime years, but it's still very enjoyable to me. And I just feel like there's a good story flow going from Lawler winning the title to Super Clash 3 in the unification bout. That makes it, an interesting story to tell and observe through 88. So it's one of the reasons I picked it. So there is much more of that story, and it will come out as we are really getting to that prime time where this is going to start kicking off and really finalizing and becoming a thing, and we're going to start actually hearing things about it. So stay tuned, Matt, on that. Super Clash 3 is coming up. It's going to be exciting. When we get to that point, there will be a special episode just outside of the monthly episodes for just Super Clash 3. And I will probably have a guest co-host on with that. Someone I've already talked to about doing it. It makes a lot of sense who this person is. So it's going to be a fun time. But we got a lot of good stuff to talk about before we get there. So, all right, guys, let's close this out. Thank you again for listening to another bonus episode. I know it's be rambling a lot with these results and TV stuff and talking the news, but to me, it's very interesting, right? Because as you look at the big picture from the shows and the TV that we have and what the newsletters are saying and what actually shapes up, again, like I said, month to month, week to week, you can see this flow of what the AWA is trying to do in this awkward period for them, right? Again, that's why I said this was such a great time to discuss going from Lawler's title win to Super Clash 3. And you can see month to month as they're scrambling, trying to put pieces in place to keep business going and keep it up and to try to have something to build towards this show that they know they're trying to put on. And there's some failures in here that's not working. There's some things where you can look at it and say, oh, that's a kind of a bright spot there and things like that. And it's interesting to see them kind of moving the pieces around in this game and scrambling, trying to resuscitate their business, so to speak, and build towards Super Clash 3. So I'm very appreciative that you're on the journey with me. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm again, apologize for the lack of audio clips in this episode, but there just wasn't a lot interesting to me, guys, to choose from. So, if it's a sticking point and everybody really likes it in the future, I'll stick some in, even if they are kind of repeat same type interviews. I'll go ahead and throw them in. No big deal. But guys, make sure you follow me on X. I'm at the Dave Dynasty. That's where you can follow all of my information, and it's the best place to see everything that I share and post and to keep track of what I'm doing and what the show is doing. Also, go check out all the WrestleCopia network of podcasts. You can go to WrestleCopia.com, or you can look up those podcasts individually on your favorite podcast platform. My next episode that I will be putting out will be coming out on Wednesday following the drop of this, and will feature my guest, PN News. We talk about wrestling in Europe, the WCW run, Salt and Pepper, plus much more. It is a fun chat. Guys, you're going to like this one. I don't care if you did not like PN News, if you laughed at him and shook your head. I don't care. You're going to enjoy this interview, so give it a shot. So until that episode, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for helping me try to keep the late history of the AWA alive, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Until next time we speak, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and always keep on growing.
Fans, we brought you All-Star Championship Wrestling. This is Sam Menaker thanking you for being with us and saying until next time, so long everyone.